All your base are belong to us.
Hello, and welcome to Fake Geek Girls, a podcast looking at nerdy pop culture from both a fan and critical perspective, encouraging the things we love to do better. I'm Missy, I'm a writer, and I actually haven't done all that much because I got Baldur's Gate 3.
That's fair.
So I'm not going to talk about Baldur's Gate 3, other than to say I'm having so much fun.
I'm Merri, I'm a digital marketer, I guess, and get ready to listen about vape. It's not gonna be the whole thing, but it's gonna vape. Vapers gonna vape.
What?
It sounds so fake.
Wow, it's not.
Well, it sounds not like you're fake laughing, but it sounds like yeah, like an anime or something.
I'm Titus. I guess I can go first.
Yeah,
we technically have the same amount.
I guess that's true. Keep
but
going
on. I watched Hyo-ri's Bed and Breakfast, or Hyo-ri's Homestay, which is a Korean not a variety show. It's a Korean reality show about Lee Hyo-ri, who is a very famous pop star in Korea. Kind of like the Beyonce of Korea. Like everybody knows who she is. And the show is about her and her husband, Lee Sang-soon, opening a bed and breakfast in their home, and people come stay with them. It is the most low stakes reality show I've ever seen in my life. There is one episode with a lot of drama, which is when the water pressure is too high and there's water underneath their floorboards. And that was quite stressful for me. But this show is it's so cute and so heartwarming. And it was really good. It was really, really enjoyable. We only watched the first season because every episode is an hour and a half long.
That is so long.
And that's without commercials. So we've only watched the first season, but we had a great time watching it. It's just about like these groups of people that come and stay at their bed and breakfast. And the little adventures that they do on Jeju Island. Oh, and they have, a quote unquote worker who is another pop star from Korea called IU. And she's kind of like the Taylor Swift of Korea at the time, at least. So just like imagine you got selected to stay at Beyonce's house and have Beyonce run your B&B, and then you show up and Taylor Swift is there doing the dishes.
That's pretty wild.
Like, it's nuts. I don't know who they are, so it like was not as impressive to me. But every time somebody shows up and sees IU, they're like, oh my God. Because I think they knew they were going to Hyo-ri's house, but they did not know that IU was going to be there. So, and I was like trying to look up who's comparable pop stars to them, because I don't know that much about Korean pop music. And the best comparison I could find was Beyonce and Taylor Swift. So like, I just want for a second, imagine that you essentially win a prize to stay at Beyonce's house, and Taylor Swift is there doing the dishes.
Wild.
And like won't let you do the dishes. Like gets offended if you try to do them.
I feel like Taylor Swift might do that just, for optics.
Yeah.
She put away all her trash in the when she was at the football game, and Travis Kelce's dad was like, oh, that shows she's a good, he liked that, and was like, well,
how about her jet though?
Yeah, I was like, she put away like 3 cups. That's not even an exaggeration.
Wow, 3 cups.
She and it was like hers and like maybe someone else's.
Oh my goodness. So if you want to watch a super heartwarming, really sweet, reality show, I had so much fun watching it. It's really, really good. It is all subtitled, and sometimes the subtitles go really fast and they don't subtitle everything. But I cannot stress enough how low stakes this show is. There is no plot. It is not like, if you miss something, it's okay. It's just like, it's something to put on when you just want to chill out and watch some people having a nice time. So if that's your jam, definitely seek out Hyo-ri's Bed and Breakfast. It is rather hard to find right now. So Good luck. And Godspeed.
I watched Big Vape. It's a documentary. It's on Netflix, and it's about the company and in particular the creators of Juul, the
singer-songwriter.
Singer-songwriter. No, these two guys. What are they? Electronic cigarettes, I guess you call them. The kids call them these days. They're vapes. They're vape pens. And it was really interesting. It was really, really good. I walked away not knowing like how I feel about vape pens. So I thought, well, what I thought was really interesting is the company originally started out because they had a mission of cutting down on cigarette smoke. Mm-hmm. They found that cigarettes, the nicotine isn't what causes cancer. It's whatever else it is. And so he's like, well, there were a couple, I think there were 2 prototypes before Juul, but essentially they're like, well, what if we just put the nicotine in there and not the thing that causes cancer? Unfortunately, it meant they put like 5 times the amount of nicotine in. Jesus. So they became extremely addictive. But at the same time, they helped a lot of people stop smoking cigarettes.
Right.
They became a clear major threat to cigarette companies. And despite throughout the whole thing, like half of it talking about how they really hated cigarette companies, like Philip Morris, I believe is who ended up buying them out. They end up getting bought out, and it's from what it sounded like, they said, if they want to do this, we'll give them the craziest number we can think of. And this tells you how big the cigarette industry is. They did it.
Yeah.
No question. And like, this isn't true, but it's not untrue for some people. When that happened, every person that it was reported, every person, who worked there was a millionaire.
Wow.
If that wasn't true, there were people who, the one guy's like, I paid off all my parking tickets, but I think the people who were there for like a good amount of time were multimillionaires. Mm-hmm. That's how much money it was. And so it was really interesting that it took away the whole focus, which was stop smoking cigarettes, which of course they would take that away, right? The cigarette companies don't want that. They just want a new demographic because people are not smoking as much as they used to. And what ended up happening, long story short, is, and many of us know, kids are the ones that started doing it.
Right.
Because they're flavored and they look, the vape pens I don't think they look cool, but kids think they look cool, like teenagers and things like that.
The real curse of cigarettes is that they're terrible.
They're horrible.
They stinky. They make you ill. Like bad.
You feel like it's a generational thing of like, oh man, you don't see people smoking in movies as much anymore.
They warn for it now. Yeah. Which like, I get it.
They used to smoke all the time and be like, oh yeah, into that. But it's bad. Don't do it. Don't start. If you want to look cool, you can have a fake cigarette. I got some really convincing ones for my Halloween costume last year. I made my husband stop smoking.
Yeah, don't smoke. It's super gross. But you do look cool. So just use a fake cigarette. You don't look cool vaping.
Yeah, you don't really look cool vaping. What was I saying? Eventually, what ended up happening, there's a lot of issues but what I thought was really the most interesting to me is that kids were getting insanely addicted. Yeah. Because they're smaller than adults, which is what this was made for. Juul decided because they, at least in the documentary, they said, we did not want kids doing this. That is not the point of this. So they tried to had a whole team of like, how do we get kids to stop doing this? And unfortunately, they didn't have, I think, professionals to really lean on because they decided it'd be best to go into the schools and tell kids not to do it. But you're also promoting it because it's your company. You're telling kids about it. So it did not work in at all, in any way whatsoever.
Yeah.
So more kids were doing it. The whole group of mothers, of course, Moms Against Vaping. I don't know if that's what it's called, but that's essentially what it was. MAV. That's not what it was, but I think it was like CARE or something like that. I don't know. Doesn't matter. They were very much like trying to get it banned. It got banned in a lot of places. But it had yet to be proven to be like detrimental to your health. Mm-hmm. And then some kids started dying and like respiratory failure. Like like painful deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing they had in common was vape. And so then it turned into vape can still kill you, and it can kill you like more violently, quicker. Turns out those kids were buying not fake, but
like
bootleg cartridges that had, they thought, THC in them.
Oh.
It was vitamin A.
Wow.
And they caught the person who did it. So, but the damage was already done.
Right.
So they started out the documentary saying vape at one point was worth a lot too much money. And then now they're worth less than 5% of that.
Wow.
Yeah. It was a really, really good documentary. I went away like not confused, but like, while I think it's really bad to have like kids really, really, or adults super addicted to a vape to the point where like you can't survive without it, it also stopped a lot of people from smoking cigarettes, which ultimately are worse for you.
Right.
Because they're just as addictive and they give you cancer.
Yeah. I can't stress enough, despite me saying that it looks cool when you smoke, you should not smoke cigarettes. They are bad for you. I'm not here to run your life, but they are bad for you.
Yes. So it was good in that sense of like, they weren't necessarily, this documentary wasn't taking a side. And I liked that. I just wanted to be given like, hey, this is what happened. Here's from both sides. Here's from professionals. But yeah, I highly suggest it. It's called Big Vape. It's on Netflix. It's only 3 episodes long. I think they're like an hour each.
We also went to Geek Girl Con.
Yeah, we did.
Which was a lot of fun.
I love Geek Girl. It's the best convention.
It's just so nice.
It's just nice. Everyone's happy to be there.
Yeah.
I've gotten some of the best art from there.
Yeah.
Because people are willing to take more like risks.
Right.
In the art that they sell.
Yeah. It's just like, it's kind of what you hope for from a convention, in my opinion. Like,
unless you like big conventions.
Even so, like, the thing I think a lot, okay, I can't speak for everybody on this earth, but like, yeah, no, I am speaking for myself when I think about it. I think a lot of people probably go to the like big conventions and feel that sense of camaraderie. Yeah. And I don't necessarily, because I don't necessarily like the same stuff as everybody. Like, we all know I'm not really a Marvel, an MCU,
girly,
Star Wars girly. We know this. So I don't feel that sense of camaraderie because I don't always like get it. You know what I mean? Which is just reflective of my personal interests. And like, there's a shit ton of stuff at Geek Girl Con I didn't know what the fuck it was, especially anime. I don't know anything about anime. So like, there's a lot of stuff where I'm just like, I don't know what that is. But the vibe at Geek Girl Con is just simply so communal. Like, you really get the feeling of being part of a community, even if you don't like the same stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that that convention really captures that spirit because it is based on the ideas of like inclusivity and that kind of thing, as opposed to just pure fanishness.
Yeah. It's also like extremely family friendly.
Yeah.
But you don't feel like, kids.
Right. Yeah.
Like, you don't, like, a lot of times kids, you know, are rambunctious. They're kids. They can't help it.
Yeah.
But it just kind of feels like the kids are just as excited in the same way we are.
It helps that the convention very deliberately has stuff for kids. Mm-hmm. It's not just look at the Star Wars thing. Yeah. It's like there are activities.
We pet bugs.
The bug people. I'm sorry, I can't remember what they were called, but they had some like essentially
the
like
ladies of bugs,
bug educators. And so we got to look at and touch some very cool bugs like a vinegaroon.
It was cool. There was even a tarantula. We did not touch that.
No, the tarantula was named Beyonce also. Yes. They did not take Beyonce out.
Or the scorpions?
No, but we did get to look at the scorpions and see.
Scorpions are arachnids, and I didn't know that.
Yeah, we got to see them glow in the dark. I did not touch. We were allowed to, I think, hold the vinegaroon or to touch the vinegaroon. Yeah. I gave it a high five because I'm very scared of spiders and arachnids. And I'm trying to overcome that fear, and they let me give it a high five.
It was very cute.
So I did that. And the lady with the bugs told me she was very impressed by my ability to engage with them, despite being afraid of them.
It's cool. There's like this whole like STEM area specifically for kids.
Yeah.
And you can tell, especially as for kids, the whole floor is covered in ceramic.
Yeah. It's really good. I think it really helps that they have stuff for kids to do. Yeah.
And it's so easy to find because it's where you go get your badge.
Yeah.
So like, I think at Emerald City, they have like a family center area, but it's like there's a lot of stuff at Emerald City, so like it's hard to find a lot of things.
Right.
But it's not necessarily like super right in your face. And they want you to know, hey, this is here for your kid.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just has like a really good feeling. If you're ever able to make it to Geek Girl Con, I highly recommend it. We didn't go to a ton of panels this year. We did go to one that analyzed fan fiction and fan works. And
it was really interesting.
It was so interesting. It was so good. That was put on by a group at the University of Washington that focuses, I think, on like fan studies and data analysis.
It was great.
It was so good.
Love data.
Yeah, I wish I could give you a whole lot of information I learned at the panel, but I only took a few notes, and they were not especially helpful to anybody who isn't me. Let me look really quick.
Another thing that's great about Geek Girl Con is they're willing to have those types of panels. They're not going to have a shit ton of panels that are like, come sit here while we talk about how we like Marvel. It's more like, I think they had a Marvel one that was like, Killmonger was right. And it's like much more than just chat about these things we like. Other conventions also do that, but Geek Girl Con really is good at finding really good content. A lot of major conventions are essentially marketing opportunities for publishers, and Geek Girl Con it's run for fans. So the panels are put on by fans. They're not just fan panels, but they're put on by people who are themselves fans and not necessarily just there to market whatever it is that they're doing. I looked at my notes and I took absolutely no notes of help to anybody, but the panel was really good. We also went to a panel on like sort of the history of pink, which was put on by Morg Ann, it was interesting. So it was kind of about the history of the color pink and its associations with femininity, which part of the reason we went to this was because we're doing the Barbie episode and we wanted to hear some like perspectives on the history of pink and that kind of thing and the association with femininity. And the panel was really informative and really well done. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
No. It was informative. It was well done. I'm this kind of thing always gets my hackles up, and this is not the fault of the person who did the panel. So I'm not.
This is just Missy's cynical.
I get really like femininity deserves to be celebrated, and like the color pink is unfairly maligned in our culture because of its association with femininity, which is constructed just like femininity is. I get my hackles get up when it comes to like a lack of divorcing femininity from pink. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't like, again, this is not the host of the panel's fault. She didn't do anything wrong. It's one of those things where I'm just like watching it and I'm like, I wish we could talk a little bit more about non-traditional femininity and about femininity for people who don't fit the like white, straight, cis normativity that is associated with this kind of femininity. Like, don't get me wrong, Elle Woods is a great fucking character, right? She's also cis, white and straight. So like, what does pink femininity look like to somebody who doesn't fit one of those demographics? And again, not the presenter's fault. She was speaking primarily from her own perspective, which was actually really interesting because she's primarily like, she's like gothic and very into horror and that kind of stuff. So like that itself is an interesting twist on it. Not as like, you know, not as different as like not being like cis or white, but I don't know.
Different.
Yeah. I don't know her sexuality, so I don't want to make statements there, but my hackles always go up with that kind of thing because I'm just like, okay, but there's more to this, and like we'll get into this in the Barbie episode, but like my relationship with femininity is complex. I am a cis woman. I identify as a woman. I am a woman. I identify with femness. You know what I mean? Like I'm pretty feminine, but my relationship with femininity is complex. So when there's like this, it doesn't have to be like speaking in absolutes, but the suggestion of absolutes with regard to what girlhood is or what femininity is, my hackles go up because it doesn't define me. And
you automatically feel like you're out of this conversation.
Not just that, but I know that my alignment with femininity and my whiteness and my cisness put me in a further relation to femininity than most people. And if my hackles are up, like, I get frustrated for everybody who doesn't also fit that demographic. You know, I'm not straight, so I don't have that part, but I am cis and I am white, and so when my hackles are up about like, oh, this is what girlhood quote unquote is, I go, is it? Whose girlhood? You know, whose femininity? Like, who gets to decide what is true? And the fact of the matter is, you can't have a conversation about everything. You know, like, things are more complex than that. But the part that gets me, and again, we'll talk about this more in the Barbie episode, I'm sure, is the implication that it should be a certain way, or that there is something natural about it.
Yeah, I think the thing, I've said multiple times to Missy, and I think on here, like, I find this whole notion of like girlhood and like all this stuff really fucking interesting, and it took me a long time, and I still have complicated feelings on it, and I don't know how I feel, but I do feel like, yes, like you were saying, pink and femininity are oftentimes unfairly pushed to the side or judged or whatever, but it's still, and I think you've said this, it's still status quo.
Yeah,
it's still like you're a woman traditionally is expected to do this. But the issue isn't pink. The issue is the patriarchy and how they they treat women. So it's very complex, and I'm still just always thinking about it because I think it's really interesting.
The panel was good, though. I want to be clear. Like, the panel,
it was really good.
The panel was good. The panel was informative. And there's only so much you can do in 45 minutes to an hour, you know, with regard to like unpacking the association between pink and femininity and patriarchy's definition of femininity. Like, it's so complex. There's so much to unpack. And
I didn't agree with everything she said.
No. It was a good panel overall. It was very informative. I'm just like, my hackles just go up at the association between some kind of essential femininity and pink, which is not what the host was doing, because she in fact was talking about how recent in history pink has become associated with women. It's just part of a larger thing that I am thinking about with regard to the embracing of girlhood and femininity that's kind of like popular discourse right now. We also did our live Let's Play of Mask of the Rose, which
had some technical difficulties.
Oh boy. I love Mask of the Rose. I think it's a great game. My computer decided midway through our live Let's Play that it wanted to blue screen and then update the BIOS 4 times. So that was rough for me. And then it died toward the end.
Despite being plugged in.
God, it was a rough time for me, a perfectionist. But it was a lot of fun. You know, like we still had a good time. We had a very small crowd, which is okay. I don't mind having a small crowd. As long as the people in the small crowd are having a good time, I'm happy. I would rather have a small audience of people having a good time than a big audience of people who are like, what the fuck is this? So I was okay with our small crowd. If you were there and you were listening, thank you so much for coming. And to the person who asked me about my laptop stickers, thank you so much for giving me something to talk about, because I was gonna lose my mind.
Missy, I get really nervous before. I was chill through that whole thing.
I'm nervous. I don't get nervous before. I get nervous while I am on stage. Like, if you could see me up there like shaking, I get so nervous. That I'm gonna like say something wrong or that I'm boring or whatever. But it's a shout out to those of you who came. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for being patient with us through our many technical difficulties. Just thanks, you know. It's a good game though. I really like it. You should play more of it, Merri.
I should. Yeah, it was fun.
I think they have it for Switch.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure.
Probably.
But it's good. Mask of the Rose is a good game. Anything else to say about Geek Girl Con?
No, I just love it.
Was that all the panels we went to? I can't remember.
Yeah, we didn't go too many.
Okay.
I watched, this is a while ago, so I have not as good memory of it, but Joyride, which has a lot of people in it, but most importantly, it has the daughter from Everything Everywhere All at Once in it, and I love her.
I was getting this mixed up with Jawbreaker.
No, very different vibes. Very different vibes. So the story, actually, it begins in Seattle. Two girls become
Stephanie
friends.
Shu.
Yes. two girls become friends, and one of them is a adopted Chinese girl, and the other one is just she has, her Chinese parents had immigrated here, I guess, and they're in Seattle, so everyone's white. So they're like, they show the Chinese family shows up, and they're like, these two white people come up, and they're like really excited to see their kid, and the Chinese people are like, what is wrong with these white people? This is so weird. And they're like, can your daughter play with our daughter? And they're like, what the fuck? But this is weird. And then it shows like they have a Chinese daughter. And so she wanted to have some type, someone who she could connect to besides all these white kids in Seattle. And they become best friends, and they grow up being totally different people. The woman who is adopted is, she becomes like a lawyer who's like high stakes, keeping up with the dudes, which is really funny in her practice because he's trying to be that absolute corporate woke person. And it was just really funny. They did that really well. And then the other friend is an artist who creates a lot of sex positive art. So like lots of vaginas and dicks and stuff like that. So the lawyer has to go to China to make a deal, and ends up she was going to bring her friend to translate for her, even though she was a little afraid because she's a little wild. And eventually, long story short, she ends up meeting up with another friend that she went to college with, who doesn't really get along with the translator friend because, like, you know, they're both best friends and whatever. Breast friends. And then one of the people who also joins them is a cousin who is nicknamed Deadeye, and they're really obsessed with K-pop. And there's this scene because like all this stuff happens, and she ends up wanting to find her birth mom for multiple different reasons, not necessarily wanting to, but being put in a position where she needs to. So they have to travel all these different places, and I won't. There's like a twist, right? And they have to get on a plane, and Deadeye, she's like, I hooked us up. My internet friend hooked us up with a private jet, and they're like, what do you mean your internet friend? Because they only had friends on internet who loved K-pop. Well, they get there, and this person shows up in this nice ass car, and they have a whole private jet, and they're like, I told you. But they don't have their passports for multiple different reasons. And so there's this whole scene where they dress them up like a K-pop band.
Oh my God.
And they do a whole performance, and it's so good. It's so fucking good. There's another storyline of one of the friends says that she's waiting till marriage to have sex, but turns out she was very promiscuous in college, and she has a tiger tattoo on her vagina, which ends up getting leaked to the whole internet. She's also an actress.
Oh no.
A famous actress. But yeah, it was really good. It was super good. It was really heartfelt. It was very much, like a raunchy comedy in a way that isn't like gross. Mm-hmm. Like it was lots of sex. I mean, one girl has a tattoo of a tiger or on her vagina, like things like that. But at the same time, it was also really heartfelt. It didn't feel like it was leaning into that as the raunchiness wasn't the humor. Mm-hmm. It was well written.
It's because sometimes women are raunchy.
Sometimes women are raunchy.
Not me though.
No, never you. That fake laugh.
Sorry. I was laughing because I actually am quite raunchy sometimes.
This is true. But yeah, it was really good. I highly suggest it. If you like Bridesmaids and want something a little more updated, I would suggest this. It's an almost entirely Asian casting, and I think that really helped. They are, I think, I don't know where they filmed, but there are sometimes when they're just speaking Chinese, and you just have to figure it out. Not figure it out, but like you have to read, and like you don't always expect that in like these comedy movies. And I just think it's a really good updated version of something like that. And it was, my husband loved it. I loved it. My husband had seen the trailer for it, and he was really excited to watch it. And he's like, I think you'll like this. So we watched it. We were both excited, and it was super, super good.
Nice.
You and Josh would like it.
Cool. I'll put it in the jar.
That K-pop scene was just magical. It was so good.
Really made for Stephanie Hsu, because we know now from Everything Everywhere All at Once, she looks incredible in a wild outfit.
Oh, she looked great. Everyone looked great.
And she can sing.
Yeah. Everyone looked really good in that movie. It was great.
Nice. Sorry, I'm putting it on my list.
One of the characters' names, real name in real life is Sherry Cola, and that is the best name.
That name rules.
Yeah.
I watched season 4 of Sex Education, which I don't think Merri has finished.
No, I'm about a third of the way through.
So I won't spoil too much.
It's great so far.
Yeah. So I've seen, sometimes I like look something up and then I get a Reddit post and then I just get recommended that subreddit forever. Man, the Sex Education subreddit hates this season. They fucking hate it. Which I think they've hated every season since season 2, if I remember correctly.
I guess like it's straying away from not the like the feel of it, but something that felt comfortable. The school, some of the people.
Yeah,
you're being thrown into a new thing. So I think people just need to be a little more open minded.
Yeah. So this season, some of the main cast has left. Ola and what's her name? I can't remember her name.
Alien girl,
whose name I can't remember. Have left. The teachers have left because the school, Moordale High, I think, was demolished.
Yeah.
I don't think it's Moordale High. Moordale Secondary School, I think is what it is, because they don't call it high school there.
I was like, yeah, I think that's it. No high school.
Yeah, they don't call it that. So Moordale has been demolished after the disaster with the teacher who looks like that girl that dances on TikTok.
And the play,
because they got a real bad reputation. And the students now have been kind of shipped off to different schools, but the main cast that we know, so Otis, Eric, Ruby, those are the main ones.
Yeah.
They get sent to this new school, which is like quote unquote student led and very like queer friendly, to the point where I was like, we're kind of pushing the limits of my believability here, but go off, I guess. Whereas Adam, my dear, dear son Adam, has dropped out of school and goes to work on a farm. And I fucking love that for him. What a good boy.
I've got to the point where he's there and he's like, doesn't like horses.
God, I love my boy Adam.
And he's just learning how to drive. And I'm like, oh man.
I love my boy Adam. And Maeve has gone to America to pursue a writing program taught by Dan Levy, who sucks in the show.
Yeah.
Just the worst.
I just got to that part
Fuck that dude.
Where he,
he's a bad teacher.
Yeah.
Like a really, really bad teacher. I studied English and creative writing, and like I had some teachers who were like really down on my style. But woof, not like that. Fuck that dude. So this season, this will just be really mild spoilers. This season has this new school, which is run by a new group of popular kids who are very different to the expectations set by the previous school they attended. At this school, it's a group of friends named Abby Roman, and I can't remember the other girl's name. And then there's like one person who's like, I finished watching this like 2 weeks ago, so I don't remember everything. Anyway, it's a new group of popular kids, and it's like, we don't do gossip here. We don't do this. We don't do that. And there's that. And then there's also the fact that there's already a sex therapist at this school named O. So the season sets up a rivalry between Otis and O, which if you think too much about it, doesn't make any fucking sense. Why can't there be more than one? Because O's super overbooked? Like, why do there need to be one? Why is the school allowing this? Why is the school facilitating a debate between them?
He had to hide it before, and now it's like
it got the school shut down. It doesn't make any sense, but it's fine. You operate within the worlds of the rules of this world. Whatever.
I'm sorry, I have to stop you for a second.
Okay.
I'm looking at IMDb, and the guy who plays Otis looks like he is Otis trying to take a picture. Like he just looks like he looks like if they said Otis, you're gonna be at something like popular, look cool, and wear something cool.
Jesus Christ. So, like, that's a big source of the conflict in the show. There's also Eric is having kind of an internal battle between his life as a queer man and his church, which he feels very strongly tied to, which I didn't feel was as much of a presence in previous seasons. It kind of feels out of left field in season 4, but again, whatever, go off, I guess.
No, because it wasn't too bad because he had a lot of talk with like his pastor and things, and he felt the connection to his religion, but he didn't feel it for the people around him. From the people around him necessarily if he was being himself. So it made sense to me.
Maybe I'm misremembering. Yeah. I don't remember it having as big of it. Like, it seemed like a thing he did for his family and not a thing he did for himself to me.
Yeah.
Whereas this season, it very much becomes a thing that he does for himself.
I think he always felt it was important to him, but he never felt like he could be open. And that was where the disconnect was happening.
Okay. It is, yeah, it's quite possible I'm misremembering.
I can't find their names because Google is bad.
Sure. That's fair. Anyway, I overall liked this series. There was a lot to like about it. I really, really, really liked Eric's storyline. I have mixed feelings about Otis's for reasons I can't say because I don't want to spoil anything. I really liked the direction they went with Otis as far as like, yeah, even men who know about things can be real dicks. You know what I mean? Like, I appreciated that they went that direction with Otis because like, if you look at Otis's behavior through the show, he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, he is.
Like, we talked about this in the very first episode. The character I think I'm most similar to is in fact Otis. Like, I have the capacity to be a huge dick. You know what I mean?
But you know a lot of things.
I know a lot of things. I have the capacity to be a huge asshole. I try not to be, but, you know, I have the ability.
You just tell it to me. Not that you're an asshole to me. You tell the asshole things to me and say, you're right.
Yeah, I try not to let, you know, my assholishness spill out into my interactions.
I have a hot take. I have a hot take to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I'm ready.
I'm so ready. Merri sometimes stokes them in me by like sending me things to make me angry or taking me to panels to see.
But
like
the panels I've brought you to, honestly, have backfired on me.
Too bad. Yeah, not too bad.
It's just interesting and it creates a good conversation. I do love to see you get mad.
Yeah.
Like, not awfully mad, but like, you know.
Me being like,
usually, and then like, okay. And then,
okay, but, anyway, so, like, I appreciated that direction with Otis, the fact that, like, they're like, oh, actually, just because you know about, like, feminism and, like, gender equality and that kind of stuff doesn't mean that you can't also be an asshole, because you can. You fucking can. I was very skeptical of the popular kids in the show. I was like, I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. Because I don't trust anybody who says, like, oh, we don't do gossip. Because I'm like, oh, you totally do.
Yeah.
And there's some other things that come later in the season that I was kind of like, I was like a little iffy on. The show does wrap it up. It came too fast and was too short, in my opinion. But there is a good conversation about toxic positivity that I really appreciated. Probably one of the standout moments that I'm of two minds about it, because it is absolutely essential to talk about ableism in like queer positive spaces, because disabled people often get left out of these discussions. Mm-hmm. And like queer disabled people exist also. So, but like ableism is a big problem even in like progressive communities. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciated that this did a lot to address that head on. The way it was addressed, again, really fast, a bit corny. But I'm still glad that they did it. I forgot to mention Cal, I'm so glad, got more screen time this season.
Oh, I love Cal.
And got a story of their own. Amy's story this season was probably the best.
I love Amy. I always love Amy.
Her story this season was so fucking good. Like, I really, 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 really love what they did with her character this season. It was just like, I thought, really well executed. Otis's story was pretty good. I have really negative feelings about one aspect of it that I don't want to spoil. But I feel extremely negative about it. It is not his relationship with Maeve. That is not the part I feel negative about. Maeve's story was so fucking sad.
It often is.
Jesus Christ, girly. It did get, it's not like sad all the way through, but like, fuck, catch a break, you know? Adam's story was okay. There wasn't enough of my boy. There simply wasn't enough of my boy.
You need a spin-off of Adam and Amy.
Yeah. Oh God, they're the best.
Not interacting necessarily.
No, just I want to know what they're doing at all times.
They were dating in the beginning, weren't they?
I think, wasn't Adam dating Maeve?
No.
Didn't they date? That's why he took his pants down in front of the whole school. Showed everybody his penis. No, Jackson and Maeve were dating at the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe Amy was dating Adam.
Yeah, it was Amy.
Wow. Weird.
It was like literally for the first one episode.
Yeah.
Because they broke up because he wasn't into girls.
Yeah.
Well,
he is.
He is, but he was really
struggling. He was struggling. Overall, it was a solid season. It was too short. They tried to cram too many things into too few episodes, which leads to some of the stories feeling like a very special episode a la the 90s.
They needed another season because this is the last season.
It needed probably 3 to 4 more episodes, in my opinion. There were some good cameos. I appreciated what they were doing with why did I forget her name? Gillian Anderson's character.
That whole thing. I'm like, oh God, this doesn't look good.
Yeah.
This doesn't look good for me.
I appreciated what they were doing with her character. I thought it was smart and effective. It is a bit weird because Jakob disappears, which could have something to do with the numerous allegations of abuse and assault against him. Right. So, you know, overall, I thought it was a solid season. It's probably the weakest, I would say. But
the weakest from a really good show.
Yeah, from a really good show. A weak season and a really good show is still like good. A solid, enjoyable television. I had a good time watching this season overall. There's one part, and it reminds me a lot of my feelings about the Barbie movie that, like, I'm just like, okay, but that's super not okay, though. Like, that's super fucking not okay. And it didn't get addressed, and them's the breaks sometimes.
I feel like last seasons typically are just letdowns, because how do you end things? The biggest example being Battlestar Galactica.
Which if you not Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones was pretty bad, but like Battlestar Galactica has a lot of seasons, a lot of episodes, and it's really good throughout most of it. And then you get that ending, you're like, what the fuck was that? What the fuck was that?
I think overall this was a good ending. It was just, it really felt like the show, somebody or somebodies somewhere involved in the creation of the show left or were cut from its production. And something was missing. And again, too few episodes, too many characters. I really liked the new characters overall, even if I was like very mistrustful of Abby specifically. I was like, you're no gossip, blah, 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 etc. And something very specific she did later that I don't want to spoil. Oh God, the story with Vivian too. Oh man, that was rough.
Oh God.
It was good. It's good. It's well handled, but it's rough. In my opinion, I thought it was well handled, but, like, what was I saying? Oh, my mistrust of Abby was in fact handled well in the end. It was just I thought that in the end, the discussion of toxic positivity was really effective, because I think that is something that happens a lot and is difficult to talk about. So I appreciated that. Overall, a good season. There's just a few things about it that kind of didn't land for me. But I mean, it's sex education. It's a good show. So I'm happy.
Okay, I watched Heat, which my husband was like, you haven't seen Heat? We're watching it. Just like that. It's a Michael Mann movie, which apparently he loves. And he wanted to watch it too, because he is currently reading the book. Or one of the books. I think there's multiple. And so... I don't know how to sum up this movie, because it was 3 hours long. It was 3 hours long, and we started it at like 9:45. It was so long, but it has Al Pacino in it, and I almost said Danny DeVito. That is not correct. Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, which Val Kilmer always freaks me out. Ashley Judd was in it. Natalie Portman was in it, and a bunch of other people. And it was good. So it's the story of, he's not really a mob boss, but he's like, he's a thief, I guess. He steals lots of money, and the cop. And it's like that kind of dynamic, which of course my husband wanted to watch, because he loves cop shows and cop movies. He loves a good investigation. And I don't know, a lot fucking happens in this movie. they want to steal from a bank, and then the cops like, we gotta stop them, and that's really kind of the whole dynamic through the whole thing. I had a hard time in the beginning because I don't know, I couldn't tell Robert De Niro and Al Pacino apart for a solid like 20 minutes before I asked my husband, like, is the cop also the bad guy? He's like, what are you talking? I'm like, they look the same. He goes, one of them has a goatee. So that is how I separated them. I don't know. It was a good movie. I thought it was going to be an action movie, so I'm glad it wasn't an action movie because I just didn't want to watch that. It's just a drama, and it's about this, Al Pacino. I think it's Al Pacino. I don't know. One of them, the bad one, is just trying to really live his thief life. He's trying to steal a shit ton of money and live his life. He finds a lady, and he's like, "Oh, lady, like ya." And then the cop is like, "I have a wife, my third wife, but I'm never home and I'm never vulnerable with her." And so at one point he walks into their house and she has somebody that she had been sleeping with just sitting there. And the guy's, his name, was, I think it was Ralph. And, he's like, you can fuck my wife. You can eat my food. You can sit on my couch, but don't you dare watch my fucking TV. And he like takes the TV and eventually like throws it into the street. It was very funny. I don't know. It was a fine movie. It's exactly like what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. It's a serious movie about cops and robbers done well with famous people in it who are great actors. And that's really all I have to say about it. I wouldn't watch it again, but we are watching another Michael Mann movie tonight, I think. I don't know which one. Michael Mann also did the prequel to Hannibal story. I can't remember what it's
Red
called.
Dragon?
Yes. And that was really good. I liked that. So we're watching another one. I don't know which one it is. It's one of them. I don't know.
One of them.
He's done stuff, I think.
You think?
Hold on, I can see. It doesn't really. He did Ferrari.
Oh.
And he did Ford versus Ferrari. He really likes Ferrari.
He's a big Ferrari guy.
Yeah, big Ferrari guy. Is it Hancock? I don't know. We're watching something. I guess he did Miami Vice. Oh, he did The Aviator. Okay, so he's done a lot. Anyways, go on.
I reread Gideon the Ninth by Tamsyn Muir. I had just the urge to read it again.
You don't reread things often.
Not anymore, because I'm trying so hard to read through my to-read shelf. So
you need to.
But I was thinking about Gideon the Ninth, and I was like, I think I want to reread it, and Merri told me to, so I did.
Yeah.
And I'm really, 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 really glad I reread it.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The first time I read this book was March 2020, which is not a good time to be reading if you were having horrible anxiety and doom thoughts and had not yet
pandemic.
Started medication to help you deal with those things. And also there's a character named Corona Beth, whose name is often shortened to Corona, and so like the word Corona just keeps like jumping out at you from the page.
And when the pandemic first started,
March 2020,
what we called the
I
almost said the sickness.
The sickness.
It was Corona. I remember hearing COVID-19 be like, that's stupid.
Yeah. So that was not the ideal time to be reading that book specifically, but also it was hard for me to follow the plot because my brain was just not able to like really stick with what was on the page. So I'm super glad I reread this. The book, if you haven't read it or you didn't hear me talk about it the first time, is about this character named Gideon Nav who lives in the 9th house, I think is what it's called. And she is kind of she's kind of like an indentured servant. And she's trying her hardest to escape the 9th house, but she gets foiled by Hyo-ri Nonagesimus, the reverend daughter of the 9th house, who is the gothiest goth to ever goth. Hyo-ri basically tricks Gideon into becoming her cavalier. So Hero is a necromancer, and she has been asked to go to the emperor's house. It's complicated. She has been
The whole thing sounds very complicated.
It is complicated, but it's also not complicated. So Harrow basically traps Gideon into becoming her cavalier. So all necromancers who become what are called lictors, which are like the like chosen ones of the emperor, sort of like his personal assistants / soldiers / advisors. All lictors have a cavalier. And so Harrow tricks Gideon in because the only other person who could be a cavalier for reasons leaves the ninth before she's able to recruit him. And also she hated him, so it didn't matter. Anyway, she tricks Gideon into becoming the cavalier. And they go to the emperor's house. That's not quite right, but it's fine. They go there, and it's like this decrepit Gothic mansion. And they are basically told, this is a test to become a lictor. All right, figure it out. and Harrow and Gideon at this point like fucking hate each other, but are forced to work together because of circumstances. Then also people start dying. So this becomes a sort of Gothic murder mystery in space with sci-fi elements.
Which you're not a huge sci-fi person.
I'm not. Also, it's gay on multiple levels.
Level 1, level 2.
Level 1, level 2.
Skips 3, goes to 4.
Yeah. I'm so glad I reread it because it was a lot of fun. Like, the parts that I found confusing the first time were a lot less confusing the second time, both because I was better able to pay attention when it's not March 2020, and because I have already read all 3 books. So going back through it a second time only, like, enhanced the experience. I also was much better able to pay attention, like, just so much better.
You're just in a better place.
I'm in a better place. Yeah. So the parts that I found confusing, like, if you heard me talk about it the first time, I talked a lot about, like, how confusing I found the beginning and how hard it was for me to keep track of the characters. I did not have that problem this time because I was able to pay attention better. The plot made a lot more sense to me. There are still a lot of mysteries in it, some of which I'm sure are intentional, some of which may not be. Overall, I had a really good time reading it. Whether you'll like this book or not, I think it really comes down to whether you like Gideon as a character. So if you start the book and you're like, wow, this is so annoying, I hate the way Gideon talks, she's not going to change. She won't change for you. She won't change for anybody. Gideon is Gideon. That's how she is. If you don't like the humor, you're probably not going to like the series. I think it's really funny. I like Gideon a lot as a character. It's just like, it's really funny because Harrow is like again, the gothiest goth to ever goth. She's the gothest person on earth. No goth is gothier than Harrow Harknona Jessimus. Gideon is a jock. She's a jock in goth's clothing. I love her. She's so funny. Not everybody feels that way. I'm reading the second book now. It is every bit as confusing as it was the first time, but in a more enjoyable way.
It's meant to be, right?
It is meant to be. I'll talk about the second book when I finish it, but I described it to Merri the other day as like, what if you were reading a heist novel?
Oh yeah.
But from the perspective, like, say you're watching Ocean's 11 from the perspective of somebody who's just at the casino. Like, they're just kind of seeing events happen and not knowing why. So I'm really glad I reread it. I had a great time. I'm excited to reread the rest of the series. Literally, as I'm reading it, I'm taking notes, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Not in a way that's like confusing, but because I can see there are so many like elements of the story to be unpicked. To be unpicked. That was weird.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. There's so many things happening that I like want to know about. So I'm like taking lots of notes so that I can understand them. And it's super fun. Like, I really, really like it. I definitely recommend it if that sounds interesting to you. I really think for the first book, you gotta be on board with Gideon's humor. Especially because the second book is, for lack of a better word, very memey. And there is an in-universe reason why a character says, if we do such and such thing, we will have none planet left grief.
Oh my gosh.
There is a reason that people talk like that in the series, and it can be really off-putting if you are not on board with that. I am on board with it, and I know what the reason is, so I'm okay with it, but if you're not the audience for this book, you're not the audience for this book, and that's okay. This is one of those things that it gets praised so much that like it's one of those things where if you don't like it, you could be like, what's wrong with me? Yeah. It's fine. It's not for everybody. Like, as much as people are going to be like, oh, it's the best book, it's not for everybody. It's okay if you don't like it. I personally find it super enjoyable, but I'm not everybody on this earth, as we know. I'm just Otis from Sex Education.
The last thing I have is Desperately Seeking Soulmate, Escaping Twin Flames Universe. So, I had heard that there was going to be a documentary coming out on Netflix about twin flames, and if you don't know what twin flames is, if you're at all up to date on anything Megan Fox or Machine Gun Kelly, they describe themselves as twin flames. It's essentially your soulmate.
I thought this was a fan fiction thing.
Okay. From what I understand from the documentary, so it focuses on two people who make it's called like Twin Flames Universe, and it turns into a cult, like legit, it just turns into a cult. And I don't know if this idea of twins flames existed before she brought it up, because she didn't talk a lot, and like they do these like meetings with their people and stuff, but it kind of came out that she was like the mastermind of this idea. And she's of the age where I wouldn't be surprised if it did come from that. I'm going to look into it when we're done. But the idea is essentially it's your soulmate. But these, like, your old, like, your God chosen. So, like, literally God chosen soulmate. There's no one else. They say you have to pay to be part of this group, and it's like really expensive.
Always a good sign.
Yeah, always a good sign. You don't have to necessarily pay, but you do. It's one of those things. Like, you got to get all the videos, right? Well, that costs over $1,000.
Jesus fucking Christ.
And then you got to keep getting video, and then you can get separate sessions with them, and they do like these therapy sessions to people who are not at all qualified to be doing that. But they would start doing things that was like super not okay. Like, them saying this person is your twin flame and you should do anything to get them, which resulted in some people getting at least one person being arrested for stalking.
Oh my God.
And then a celebrity, I think it was, what's his name from Barbie and Notebook?
Ryan Gosling?
Yeah, I think it was him, put a restraining order on one of them. Because they say, if you're not pursuing your twin flame, something's wrong with you. You're unhappy.
Oh my God.
You should, I wouldn't be surprised if they said you should just go kill yourself. Like, they were so toxic.
Yike.
It turned into, they started getting really popular, really, really popular. Their groups were huge. They were making so much money. They went from like a really teeny tiny shitty apartment to like a multi-million-dollar home with like multiple very expensive cars. Like, that's how crazy rich they were. And they were even saying like, being this rich shows that you're on the right path.
Okay, so it's Scientology, but instead of an alien, it's
love. Yeah, essentially.
The real alien was love.
Yeah. Well, then the issue that they started having was it was mostly women. There were a few men. And there was one, and like not a lot of people necessarily actually getting together with their twin flames. So they started saying, okay, well, we actually think that everyone's twin flame, if you're in this group, is probably in this group as well. Well, that's hard when somebody is straight and it's mostly women.
Mm-hmm.
So what that turned into is him literally bullying, women to transition.
Oh my God.
Go by new pronouns and dress a certain way. Because ultimately, they may have seen like this really opening, like these opening people who their star couple was a lesbian couple who had been friends forever. Like a beautiful love story. And he seems really open, like this is a progressive place. But ultimately, they're pushing like gender on you, a very
like bioessential, not bioessentialist, but gender essential.
Yeah, exactly.
And heteronormative.
Yes, because there was a divine feminine, which a lot of people have probably heard of, and a something masculine. Mm-hmm. And there had to be those two. It couldn't both be feminine, it couldn't both be. So that,
and you don't have to be like a kooky new age person to believe this kind of like thing either. This is
these were regular people.
Yeah.
Not many of them were not like that.
Mm-hmm.
They were, those are the people they talk to, obviously. But there's this cult is still going on. People are still in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was based off of an article a journalist did, who the journalist was in the documentary, and somehow they had gotten so much footage of these therapy sessions from people. And so you got to see firsthand how crazy they were becoming. He literally was like, I'm the second coming of Christ. But he had always kind of been a little weird. He was really into get rich fast types of things, even in high school. And he changed his name twice to, like, he moved to Hawaii. So you can imagine, I can't remember what the names are, but you could imagine what he had named.
I'm sure it was really respectful.
Yeah, it was really respectful. And then he named it back to Jeff.
Jeff? Was Jeff his real name?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Jeff is his real name.
I thought he just like chose a new name and he went with Jeff.
No. And then his wife was Megan, and then her name now is like Shalia or something like that. I don't know. But it was wild. It was super, super good. I'm gonna watch the Netflix one because I need to know more about these crazy people.
You should join it.
No, that's expensive. I don't got that money right now. I don't got that. And then it turned into an MLM.
Of course.
Because then it turned into, okay, we're not getting as much money because people are leaving because they're not finding their twin flames. How do we make money? Oh, we'll create coaches. And they set themselves apart from MLMs because if you're a coach, you keep all the money you make on the individual therapy sessions that you do. So it feels like you keep everything. And if I remember correctly, though, you had to buy a lot of shit. That was thousands of dollars.
Naturally.
And it wasn't like physical things. It was like videos. And then you had to recruit people, which is what makes it become an MLM. Mm-hmm. And then they had to buy it.
Did you ever listen to The Dream?
I don't know.
You need to listen to that one. That's the MLM one that Josh and I really liked.
Oh, maybe.
The podcast.
I don't think I have. But
you got to do great. The Dream.
That sounds great. I think MLMs are really interesting and terrible. So it was like this MLM, but it didn't seem like an MLM if you are not like really looking out for it, because they kept all the money that they made. Mm-hmm. But they also were forced to spend it.
Right.
And recruit people.
A nice like hybrid of like a religious organization and tithing and an MLM.
Yes. And it was people who were just not qualified. At all, in any sense. It was essentially like, I think you're ready. And they were pressuring people to join it. One of the people, they're like, they had something that they were like, I'm struggling with this. And he's like, it's because you're not happy. Oh, this is what it was. They're like, what do you think about all the time? And she says, I think about all the time being on stage. I want to be an actor. Like, that's where I want to be. And he goes, you're wrong. You want to be a coach. I'm like, what? And she's like, I don't. And he's like, are you telling me I'm wrong? I'm not wrong. I know better than you. Like, literally, he was saying Christ. That. It's wild. He gets mad if anyone questions him. Especially was getting mad at people who are like, I'm a woman. And then he's like, nope, you're a man, and would change their name, choose the name, like Dan for Anne, and only refer to that person as Dan the man.
What the fuck?
It's wild. It's very good.
I want to push him down the stairs.
You and Josh should watch it, but you might get mad. It was really good. I'm going to watch the Netflix one. It was also not that long. It was 3 episodes, I think an hour each. And highly suggested if that sounds interesting to you. I love a good documentary.
The last thing I did is super, super short. Like really, really short. Right. I picked up Abundance of Kindness by ARG, which is by, I think I don't know if they call it Those Girls Press, but they are 2 creators that I'm always seeing at local conventions, and I love their stuff. So Abundance of Kindness is an extremely short zine, like 8 pages, and each page has like 1 line on it about kindness and about being I'm not going to read the whole thing because that would, like, you'd buy it yourself. The first page is, I've been told my whole life I'm too nice. And it kind of goes off of that into like the choice to be a kind person, to be a nice person, despite the fact that that is a difficult thing to be. Not just because it's hard to be kind, but because our world is not built on kindness. Whatever is true about, the fact that we're a social species, that we benefit from being close to one another, our world does not impress that upon us. And so this little zine is about the feeling of choosing to do that anyway. And I really appreciated this because damn if it ain't true. It's really cute and really sweet and kind of empowering, I feel like, in the end. I don't want to say too much about it because I cannot stress enough how short this zine is. Merri could read it in the next 15 seconds.
Oh, love it.
I want to, here.
I'll do it right now.
You could
we can talk about it.
Yeah. you can join my conversation about this. The artwork is really pretty, very simple, but really effective in how it communicates the idea. And overall, I just really, really liked it. And I'll give Merri another, 10 seconds to finish the zine, and then she could talk about it too.
I'm a slow reader.
That's okay.
Yeah. This seems like you.
Yeah.
That seems like you.
Yeah, so it's good. It's good. Do you feel my summary of it was pretty accurate?
It is. It is. It reminds me a lot of when my mom always told me, nice people get further in life. And, I found that to be untrue. But as I get older, I'm like, but it needs to be true.
Yeah. Sometimes we don't do things because that is how the world works, but it's because it's how we want the world to work. It's how the world should work. And sometimes our desire to make the world work a certain way is at odds with the way the world actually works, and that doesn't mean that we should do the work anyway.
Yeah, that was really complicated, but I followed it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's like you're a writer or something.
So that's it for this episode. You can find us online at fakegeekgirlscast.com. Thank you to Emily June for helping out with our transcriptions. If you like this episode, consider leaving us a review on your podcast service of choice.
I should have started this out with, I'm Merri and my baby's the size of a lettuce. I think next week it's something really weird.
A double-decker bus.
No, it's hold on. I have to find it now because
Merri's baby app keeps
not right.
comparing her baby to different foods, and most do this, and I am so confused as to why the world wants us to eat the baby.
Here, I know what it was. It's not next week. It's the picture they've chosen for the head of lettuce.
That's not a head of lettuce.
It looks almost like a celery stick.
It looks like a leek.
Yeah, it looks like a leek. Next week it's a head of cauliflower, which just looks like cauliflower.
Okay.
Anyways. And then a bunch of broccoli.
Next time we're going to be talking about Barbie. That will be our November episode. We usually take December off. But I wonder if we should do December this year and take January off.
I can do anything, baby.
Yeah.
Well, January, I'll probably won't be doing it.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Now, do you want to take some time off?
I don't know if I'm going to be able to tell you until I get closer.
Yeah. If Merri takes some time off, I plan so let's just say we're going to take January off, period. Well, here's what I'm thinking. We can always have you for what we've been up to.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's
then
true.
If you're not able or willing to do full-length episodes, I can have some guests on.
Or if I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Except it's change diapers.
Yeah.
We'll have to play it by ear.
My thinking is probably we'll be here in December.
I'm thinking that's exactly correct.
And we'll take January off instead. Because we usually take December off.
Unless she comes early.
Which is
possible.
Babies, they operate on their own schedule.
It's true, they do.
So
I just don't want her to come too early.
Yes.
And I don't want her to come too late. I
Right.
don't want to be...
You don't want her to be under or overcooked.
Yeah. Well, she can never be overcooked because they don't stay in you very long enough. But
she could get burnt in there.
She could get burnt in there. You are not supposed to take hot baths, so
yeah, she could get burnt.
No, I just don't want to be
just like that mystery meat,
because they won't have you go to 41. They'll induce you, which I have nothing against inducing, but I don't want to get to the point where I'm walking on curbs and eating spicy food,
right,
and downing dates and raspberry tea, even though there's no scientific evidence saying that it works.
So as of right now, the plan is to go through December. I don't know what our December episode will be yet because it's complicated. January, we will most likely take off. And February, we may be back with Merri. We may be back with a guest host. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. If we need guest hosts, we'll do that. If we don't need guest hosts, we'll do that. And just know that we will not be putting out new episodes in January. That's our month off.
the baby. Anyone have some good baby names? Because I have like 17 and I can't choose. I think Daphne's up there right now, but
I don't know why you're not going with the simple classic Rathiu.
Fuck off. It won't be Rathiu. It also won't be what my husband said it should be, which I'm not going to repeat.
Whatever you're imagining now is worse. Whatever we are all imagining now is worse than what it could be.
Yeah, but I'm still not going to say
Rambo.
He's said that. He's given that. You guys all choose the worst names. None of you are serious.
We're so unserious.
My name are Gideon.
Do it.
No. All I think of when I hear Gideon is
Gideon.
Yeah.
We just rewatched I Love You Man the other night. Still good.
Yeah.
So that's it. Expect Barbie in November.
Hi, Barbie.
Hi, Barbie. Actually, I think Barbie might come out in December. This is the thing.
I don't know.
We record in advance, so like me saying this just means that like actually there won't be a new episode at the beginning of fucking February.
I can't even remember half the time that we're recording since we changed schedule a little bit.
Let me tell you, going every other week has done wonders for my life.
It is really nice.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if we're ever going back because
I don't think we should.
This is so much better.
I don't think we should. I don't think I'll be able to, honestly, with a kid, a young kid, and eventually go back to work, hopefully.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
All right, that's it.
All right, catch you on the flip side. Baby.